Hello Malaysians, my name is Professor Dr. Muhammad Tajuddin, and in this video I would like to speak about the topic whose fault Malaysia? A serious reflection needed. Now the gist of this talk is simply about asking those who are complaining nowadays about what the unity government is not doing, what they should be doing and all that. It is asking those who are complaining to actually reflect on 5 things and then think again about what they are complaining about. Now, let's go with this 5 things that I said that needs to be reflected on. The first one, who actually voted for Barisan Nasional in 1999 and in the 2004 elections? I certainly did not vote for Barisan Nasional in both elections. Why? It was because of the incarceration and the injustice on a human being, Anwar Ibrahim. Anwar Ibrahim to me was not just a Malay or a Malaysian, but is a human being and being treated by the powers of the state under then Dr. Mahathir is Islamically totally disgusting and totally disgrace. But surprisingly, the government did not fall, because there is a huge section of us who are actually complaining now who voted for Barisan Nasional. Perhaps those who are talking in the social media did not vote then because they are too young, but their parents certainly did. Their parents are the ones who upheld the Barisan Nasional government in the 2 elections. In the 2004 election, it was a landslide victory for the Barisan Nasional. A landslide victory. So, how is it that a 2-year-old government, which is a Kerajaan Campuran or a mixed government, or also a mixed political party, is going to change all those 60 or 40 or 50 years of regime that has been set by somebody like, say, Dr. Mahathir. Now, the earlier Barisan Nasional was in the formative situation of Malaysia, and those are the things that laid the foundation with Tun Abdul Razak, Tun Dr. Ismail, Tun Abdul Rahman. These are the best of the times. It was the most difficult too at that time. When Dr. Mahathir took over, he modernized the country, but then he set another foundation, the foundation of race supremacy. Now, somebody is going to set the tone of religious supremacy, and this is a very worrying trend. Religious supremacy is much worse than race supremacy. So we need to look as Malaysians, Malays or non-Malays, especially the non-Malays who voted for Barisan Nasional to retain its power. Now, many of your parents or many of us who are now like me, 62 years old, who voted for Barisan Nasional, were thinking that we were trying to save the economy. We don't want another political party to come in. At that time, PAS and DAP was were the ones that was fighting for justice for Anwar Ibrahim, so they didn't want to change. Even though at that time PAS had all the progressives like Mak Sabu, Zulkifli, Dr. Zulkifli, Mujahid Rawa, a lot of these progressive people. PAS now is 100% different than PAS then. The PAS then was the one that I supported for 30 years. And we had the figure of Nik Aziz, we had the figure of Fadzil Noor. Not like now, we have people like Hadi Awang, who is an extremist through and through. So at that time, we missed the opportunity to actually reset the country. Not only give justice to Anwar, but perhaps to reset the country. Now, some people may say, well, that is not necessarily correct. You know, you might have destroyed the country. Well, anything good will always come up with certain turmoil, but it could have happened earlier. But now it happened at the present time. So were Many Malaysians worried about money as opposed to the fate of one person, the humility and the indignity that was thrown to a person called Anwar Ibrahim. Now, I'm not talking here to support Anwar Ibrahim, just a human being. If he happened to Lim Kit Siang during my time, I would still say something about it. It doesn't matter. It should not matter. So this is the situation where we need to actually reflect who voted for Barisan Nasional in 1999 and 2004. And then what happened in 2018? Many of us came out to vote because of what? Of the idea that Najib was robbing the country blind. So we put money ahead of the compassion for human being. Ever thought about that? Now again, this is not about Anwar Ibrahim. It could have been anyone. But Anwar was incarcerated for many years in prison for something I am convinced he never did, using all the apparatus of the country. The judiciary, the police. It was horrible to see your country right in front of your eyes descending into the madness of a mafia-like or a something-like situation. I hope none of you go through the times when you could actually see day by day the country lying, the government lying right in front of me. I still remember people saying, one minister, woman minister saying, putting a glass at the eye of Anwar, of her eyes and saying, look, Anwar could have knocked himself with his self. I could still remember the words of Mahathir insulting Anwar while the man is in prison. This is the courage of Mahathir. He can speak in front of the United Nations knowing that nobody can criticize him because of diplomatic immunity. The same thing like many UMNO members like Akmal, who always speak within their own race. In the Perhimpunan Agong, you sound like a hero, but actually you're a coward. Most of them are cowards. So who actually voted for these people? Reflect on that. 1999, 2004, we could have reset the country earlier. Next, who stayed away from election? We have the Sungai Bakap recent election. Whose fault was it? Why was it a certain race not coming out to vote? Oh, because we don't like this diesel thing, or we don't like that, or we don't like that. Okay, so what do you like? Of course you would like a lot of things, but then how is change going to come about? Have you ever thought about that? And what is the alternative to that? Oh, this is our democratic right to protest by not coming out to vote. Okay, but then don't complain lah. Don't complain about anything if you do not come out to vote. Like a friend of mine used to say on his t-shirt, kalau tak undi, undi di curi. So your vote is stolen by another race. And you are again complaining, oh, this race is this race is that, their religion seems to be, don't complain if you don't come out to vote. What happened in the 2022 election? When the DAP dropped several people, oh, I don't want to go and vote. Why is this DAP dropping these people? They are very good people. Yes lah, I mean, if you voted for them, definitely you voted for the party. So if the party put new people, that's their prerogative lah. Why you didn't go out to vote? The country almost went to Perikatan Nasional, if not for the help of the previous Yang di-Pertuan Agong, Sultan Abdullah, who convinced three enemies of the Pakatan Harapan to work together. UMNO, GRS and GPS. These three are enemies. But then they were asked to work together. If not, the country would be given to Muhyiddin and Parti Islam Malaysia, who have 40 over seats and is a very, very strong presence. So who stayed away? You stayed away, you're supposed to lose your morality to actually complain. Next, we have the idea of a Kerajaan Campuran, meaning a mixed political parties of diverse intentions. Sarawak party is interested only in Sarawak. Sabah party, I don't know what they're interested in. UMNO is interested only in Malays. Only PH is interested in a multicultural situation. So don't you think that the mix of all this thing is a difficult thing? In most other countries, in France now, they are having another hung parliament, which is a normal day where you need to work with others. Of course, in UK, you have the Labour being strong, and so that's another way. It's something easier for them to do what they want to do. But now, with this mixed government of diverse objectives and vision, it is not an easy thing to do. And it is something that in the future is going to be the norm in our country. We are used to the idea of Tun Dr. Mahathir being so powerful that he can just snap his finger and overnight things change. That's what he did. He wanted English and maths maths and science in English. He snapped his fingers and everybody suffered. Everybody suffered because it has to be thought out through, has to be in stages. But no, he wants it done and it is done. He wants Anwar in prison, he's in prison. Just like that. Do we want that kind of power? So, wisdom requires the idea that we are mixed. And when is it in life that we are not mixed? When you get married, are you going to get somebody who's exactly the same as you, who has the same thought as you? Definitely not. And when you have children, when they grow up, of course, when they are young, you can control everything. But when they grow up, they want to pakai tudung or tak pakai tudung, that's no longer not your job. It is, they are coming into their own adult. So you need to respect and be there for them. And when and only when they ask for your advice, you give it. If you're going to give advice, okay, I always give advice, and many of my children don't listen to me. It's fine. I love them the same way. I treat them still. Whatever they are given, money, cars, houses, they are my children. So we are always in a mixed situation when you go into a new organization, when you work in a new place. Is that not a new mix? So I don't understand when in our family we can have patience, we can have wisdom of looking at change. And when we go to work in a different situation, we are patient of change. But here with the government, which is a Kerajaan Campuran, we don't have the patience. We think Anwar can snap his finger here or snap his finger on the left, make the matriculation quotas disappear overnight. He tried to do a change, and that may have cost the election in Sungai Bakap by allowing more quotas for non-Malays. Oh, it's not enough. You want it overnight? He will probably be out of the government next week. UMNO would definitely pull out. Do you want that? If you want that, that's fine. So, we need to understand the difficulty that the Kerajaan Campuran is having. So, we need to reflect that in a mixed political party, we need to be more patient for change to happen. But reading Malaysia Kini's columnists and letters, it doesn't seem to be that we have any patience at all. That's number 3. Number 4 is something that the Malay say, which is ukur baju di badan sendiri, meaning when we complain and when we criticize, are we fit to actually do the changes that we are telling the government to do? Do we have enough knowledge about the context of situations, the context of the political parties, and the concerns of their different philosophies and things like that for us to want change? Or we want this to be changed this way, we want to change that way. We don't even bother to find out what is the full extent of the change. For instance, the diesel subsidy removal. What is the whole implication? What we see, nasi lemak naik harga. But we're trying to look and manage a huge thing which is not visible, which is the hutang negara or the country's debt. We don't see this. What we see is the nasi lemak. The nasi lemak is either getting smaller and smaller or it's getting more expensive. Nasi lemak is our problem, not the future. So of course some people will say, well, it's okay lah for you to talk, you have money and all that. No, it's not about that. Once upon a time I was the same in terms of struggling, but I never complained. Growing up, I asked my wife, did we ever complain about government doing this, diesel doing that? I never even knew all this thing. All I knew is that if I can't afford that thing, then I don't have it. I'll take something else, that's all. And if I wanted more money, I have to work an extra job, and I did. We opened a tuition class and all that. We did as much as we can to make do with life, but we never complain about this government doing this, because we are too busy living and surviving. We don't complain. It's also my philosophy not to complain unless I can do something about it. It's also not my philosophy to complain if I, in that person's situation, don't know what to do about it or cannot do anything about it. So this is what I say, ukur baju di badan sendiri. But many of us are so engrossed in complaining to the point that we do not understand that the things that we are complaining is just like little children wanting this, wanting that. A child wanting expensive toys which the parents cannot afford. What are you going to do about it? So we are no longer children. We need to understand that change takes time. It takes a different narrative. It takes a certain kind of a perspective. Changing UiTM to all, opening it up. I want it to be done. I know I think wants it to be done. But it cannot be done now. Because once you do it, next week you're out of government and you're having a whole load of different problems. So it needs hikmah, wisdom, patience. But again, we don't have this thing. We're just acting like children, I think. We want this, we want that. He's not doing this, he's not giving me that. I think it's time we grow up. And the fifth is about reflecting whether we have grown actually. What do I mean by that? Have we grown from just being a Malay, just being a Chinese, or just being an architect, or just being an engineer? Have we grown? I've asked this question in promotion exercises to students who are excellent students. Have you grown by reading something outside of your culture? No one has. Have you read something of a different faith, of a different civilization that has made you grow into something more meaningful? Pun tak ada jawapan. No answer for that. Both the lecturers and the students. So we have not grown. I am reading a book about Tun Wan Junaidi when he was a policeman. He's a Sarawakian, and I learned so many things about the past, about the hardship of being a policeman, about the field force, about the jungles, about the communist threat. I didn't know there was so much communist threat. I only know about Semenanjung. My father too was a policeman. I'm also now reading a Pope about Christianity, about him being part of looking at the atrocities of the world. I did read about Mahatma Gandhi or Malcolm X, looking at the American situation, looking at the Indian situation. So, have we grown? We need to grow from the comfort of our own society, our own faith, as well as our own profession. If we don't do that, then how are we to actually affect change in this country? Real change. Real change comes only from us, not from some political party, not from some prime minister and things like that. Real change must come from us. So I hope that we Malaysians, in order for us to actually do something for our children and have a good country that has changed positively, we need to change ourselves first. Because if you keep blaming and pointing fingers to Anwar, to Rafizi, to this person, to that person, you don't see the three fingers pointing back at you. This is a bitter pill to swallow. People will say, oh, Dr. Tajuddin is defending the government and things like that. You can do and you can say that, but tell me what I have said just now as untrue. Who voted for the Barisan Nasional? Who did not go to vote? And who does not understand the idea of Kerajaan Campuran or a mixed political party? And who is always impatient and not understanding and not ukur baju di badan sendiri? And finally, who did not grow? Who did not grow? Did you understand Islam better than you did 20, 30 years ago? Did you understand Christianity better? Did you understand the Sarawakians better? Did you understand the Sabahans better? Look into ourselves first before we start complaining about others. Because as I understand from reflecting about life, all the problems of family, community, career starts with us and usually ends with us. And this is not a defeatist mentality of absorbing the politicians' fault here and there. It is actually enlightenment and awakening and conscious situation of we growing up, maturing, having more wisdom. And that is something that I wish to share and ask all of us to reflect. With that, thank you very much.